to another episode of Jim's Love and Garden. Okay, so just to round off where we were on the last video, as you can see, what I've done is I've put in about 2.5–3 barrels full of earth from where the potatoes were last year, and I've just topped that up, which is about kind of 3 or 4 inches on top. So all underneath here, as you can see, that's all topped up to the normal level. That will drop about 2 or 3 inches over the course of the next few weeks. I've done the same on this side as well, and what I've done now is I've obviously put boards over the top. I've got to put one more there just to fill that up, and the metal grills that you're used to seeing. And now what I can do now is obviously put all the plants and stuff in here on these trays as a deck, so I can get to them and sort of grow them on. And then as soon as we're ready to put the tomato plants in, what I can do is lift all of these trays off, and then underneath, then I'll have this border all ready to go. All the worms have gone in there and sort of mixed it all up. So if you do the preparation now, then in a month's time when you put the tomatoes in, it'll be all ready to go. All I'll need to do is just quickly fork it over, make sure it's all mixed up, and then I can plant straight into that. So that's the greenhouse prepared for this year. So I'll now show you some seeds and stuff going in. Unfortunately, again, this sort of weekend we've had lots of rain. As you can see, the weather's really wet. It's just been non-stop rain, as you can see. I don't know if you can see the water down there, but the allotment's basically flooded. I can't dig it or anything. You can look at the next door neighbours there. There's loads of water down there. And if I show you over here, this time of year when it's raining like this, there's literally nothing you can do. I'll just quickly show you over here my neighbour's allotment there. As you can see, that's basically all water down there. And on the other side, so basically the whole thing's flooded, as you can see down here. This is my allotment here. Next door's flooded, so this, there's just water everywhere. As you can see, all of that there's water. So when it's like this, there's not really much you can do outside. So I'll show you some more seeds going in. Okay, so we're more than ready to sow the sweet peas. Now, sweet peas can be sown any time from January really. They're quite hardy little plants. I always tend to wait till now, sort of middle of March or towards the end of March, before sowing them. I just feel, you can do them earlier on, but I don't think you really gain much from doing it too early. Even if you put them now, you're going to get the same results really. So you save yourself sort of 2 or 3 months of watering things that that you don't really need to do. But anyway, sweet peas are quite easy to grow. The seeds are kind of like sort of small, about 1/4 of an inch across balls. And what you want to do is, in a pot like this, what I typically do is sow 4 or 5 seeds. Just put 4 in there. You want to push them in with your finger like that, and then just put a little bit of compost over the top. So you plant them about kind of 1/2 inch down or so. Take your next pot and then just push that in like that, and then that's more than enough pressure in there. And all you need to do is do this a few times. You can put more seeds in. I typically put about 4 seeds in if the seed's coming out of a seed packet. So just push them in like that, about 1/2 inch or so in, like that. Obviously 1 in each corner. Put a bit of compost over the top. You don't need too much. As I say, then just push that down like that with your next pot. So now, sweet pea seeds that you save yourself don't typically germinate as well. And as you know, we saved quite a few last year. So these are straight out of a seed packet. and I would say in a pot like this you want to put four seeds per pot. If you're growing them to show, you typically put 1 or 2 in, and then pull out the weaker ones, so you end up with just one plant basically. But if you grow them just as cutting flowers like I do, you know, that's more than enough room for them to grow. And then what you do is you plant these out, wait till they get to about sort of 6 inches or so high, and then you can plant them out outside, I don't know, any time after the frosts have gone really, I would wait for. And then, you know, obviously give them something to grow up. You know, you need some wire mesh or even some bean poles or something like that. They'll soon grow up there. You need to tie them in to start with, just to get them going, and then they'll sort of go up the pole. They don't wrap themselves around as much as you would expect with like runner beans or something like that. You know, they do sort of grow straight up, but they throw out the little tendons that hold on, but they will kind of twist themselves a little bit. So that's if you get them out of a seed packet. And I've got 2 varieties here. One's completely pink, which is called Lipstick from Mr. Farmergill's, and then the other ones that I bought last year from Wilco's. I've just finished that packet off. You don't typically get too many seeds in a packet. There's sort of 20 odd seeds in there. That was £2.50 originally. I only paid 20p for that. But you know, you don't get much for your money. Now, if you save the seeds, like I've done last year, and I'll just show you now. You do it in exactly the same way. These are all going to be mixed in with each other anyway. Exactly the same way. Put your compost in like that, pretty much up to the top. Now, your seeds should look something like that unless you've podded them. And all you need to do is get your seed pod like that, and then just take out the seeds, so you end up with exactly what you've had in the seed packet. As you can see, you break it open, and then you've got the seeds inside. Now, what I would tend to do, as I say, if you save your own seed, I find that the germination isn't as good. So what I would be tempted to suggest, because if you save your own seeds, you've got plenty of seeds anyway, but what I would suggest, rather than putting 4 in, I'd probably put 6, 7, 8 seeds in there, because they don't always germinate quite as well. So I'm putting basically the seeds out of one pod, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in there. I've got plenty of seeds. I'm not short of seed, but you tend to find that the germination rate isn't as good. And obviously, what you do want is plenty of plants. So, you know, if you've got plenty of seed, just chuck them all in. That's what I suggest. But obviously, with the bought seeds, if you put 4 seeds in there, you'll probably find that those will all germinate quite well. But I always find from experience that if you save your own seed, you know, they don't always germinate quite as well as they would do if you bought the seed. So I typically put 1 pod's worth in a pot. So I've got the 6 there. There's 1 dropped in there, so there's 7 seeds again. And just basically space them out as best you can in your pot like that. Try and get them as far apart as you possibly can do. Exactly the same way as you did before. Bit of compost on the top, get you with the pot. Squash them in like that, and then they'll grow away quite nicely. What you need to do is water them. You need to keep them moderately warm. They don't need to be overly warm. You know, in a greenhouse like this is more than good enough. Plant them all up. With sweet peas, I always find that growing them in bunches like that, what they'll do is you can then sort of, as soon as these have grown, you plant them sort of about that far apart like that in a row. So you've got, you know, sort of a pot there, then you've got 2 or 3 inches, then another pot's worth, then another 2 inches, and then you can plant them in a row like that with your whatever they're going to grow over just above, and then they will grow quite nicely like that. And you know, you'll get plenty of you know, sort of sweet peas and stuff like that. As they start to grow, make sure they've got something to grow up. As soon as they start to flower, if you want more flowers, the best thing you can do with sweet peas is keep picking them. As soon as you stop picking the flowers, you know, you stop taking the flowers off, the plant will run to seed and then it'll stop producing flowers. As soon as it's satisfied itself that it's produced the seed, it will stop growing. If you want the sweet peas to continue all the way through the season, what you need to do is keep taking off the, you know, sort of picking the flowers off, make a nice little bunch out of them, then you put them in your house or give them to friends or whatever. If you don't want to pick them and you want to leave them in the garden as flowers in the garden, what you need to do is as soon as the flower goes over, you need to take the flower off so it doesn't form into a seed pod. Obviously at the end of the year, leave them on, do the opposite, leave them on, and then you'll get plenty of seeds like this for next year. Okay then, moving on to the tomatoes, we've got, I'm going to put 4 varieties in this year. First one is the one that I recommend to anybody if you're growing tomatoes for the first time. This is Moneymaker. You cannot go wrong with this one. It's a really nice crop, a good tasting tomato, and very easy to grow. Well, all tomatoes are easy to grow, but this one in particular is really worth growing. Another one which is very similar to Moneymaker, it's a derivative of it, which is this one, which is Alicante. Pretty much the same plant, but I always like to grow those two. And I always grow some Gardener's Delight. I'm only going to grow a few of these. I typically grow 2 in the greenhouse, 2 or 3, because they're such a heavy cropper, and you know, you can only eat so many cherry tomatoes. But that's one from Wilco's, Gardener's Delight. Another one that I always grow, and then I always try and grow one sort of novelty variety. This year I'm going to do this Golden Sunrise from Mr. Fothergill's. So those are the 4 tomatoes that I'm going to be growing this year. Those 2 are the staples, though. That's Alicante and Moneymaker. As I say, I can't really sort of push Moneymaker enough. It's a variety that I've known for many years. My father grew it for many years, all through my childhood, and I've carried on growing that. That's from Country Value, but basically every seed supplier will supply Moneymaker, and obviously Alicante is from Thomas and Morgan. So to grow these, really easy, anybody can do this. Now, unlike peppers and stuff like that, tomatoes will germinate at lower temperatures. Now, I'm not going to put these in the house. What I am going to do is leave them up in the greenhouse. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to get enough warm weather in the next few weeks for them to germinate. But as I say, there's plenty of seed in there, so if they don't germinate, what I can do is put a second lot in. But really, your tomatoes really need to be going in now. So very easily, all you need to do is put in around 2 inches or so of compost in the trays. Now, I grow lots of tomatoes. I grow about probably about 40 plants this year. I may well grow more than that. So I'm going to put plenty in, and what I typically do is I grow about twice as many as I need, and then basically pick out the best plants to put in the greenhouse, and then any that are remaining I typically give away to friends and family, and then obviously any that aren't quite up to par, I sort of dispose of those. But basically all you need is get your seed trays like this if you're growing them in volume. As the Gardener's Delight and the Golden Sunrise, I'm only going to be growing a few of them. I'm just going to be growing them in a small pot like this. I'm going to put about 10 or so seeds in there. But the Moneymaker and the Alicante, I'm going to grow lots of them. So, full seed tray. What you need to do is just tamper the ground down slightly. Don't make it too firm. But what you want is a nice level surface to put the seeds on. I've put the compost almost to the top. I've got about half an inch left now. I'm only going to put a slight sprinkling of compost over the top when I put the seeds in. But what you want to do, start off with the Moneymaker. Get all the seeds in the bottom of the... There's one stuck in the top there. Let me just take that off like that. So. Right, so the seeds are, as you expect, the seeds that you get inside a tomato. I think everybody knows what they look like. Little round, flat, yellowy sort of coloured seed. Now what you want to be doing is you want to be spreading the seeds out reasonably well, because what you want is not to damage the not to damage the roots as you prick them out. So there are the seeds there. I don't know if you can see that against my hand, but they're like a light brown sort of colour. Right, so what I'm going to do is put them in to the compost, start it about an inch in, and then put in the seeds about an inch apart. And what you want to do is try and make like a grid of them if you can. What you don't want to do is have two seeds close together. So if you do, as I've just done, drop two seeds together, try and pull one of them out, and as I say, I'm going to end up with probably about 40 little plants in here, of which I'll probably grow about 20-25 of those. So don't let the two seeds be together. So where I've got double seeds being dropped. Now you don't have to be overly fussy with this. Some people like to have nice neat lines, but that doesn't actually happen in nature. So as long as they're about an inch or so apart, that's more than good enough. Two seeds together there. And as soon as you've got them all in, all the tomatoes are pretty much the same method. So I'll carry on with the others. I don't need to show you everyone. But as soon as you've got all the seeds in together like that, that's it. Just make sure you haven't got two seeds together. That's the important thing. And they're about an inch apart. Now these will germinate. Should be reasonably quickly. As I say, you need about 15 to 20 degrees to germinate them. So the seeds that you've got left over, tomato seeds will last. So you can potentially hold them back as a sort of backup plan. So just make sure that they're nice and sealed in there. Now, as soon as you've got your seed in there, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows of 5. So there's 50 plants in there pretty much. Right, so all you want to do is put a very light sprinkling of compost in there. You don't want too much at all. You want to keep the seeds reasonably close to the top, like that. Now, what you want to do is keep these as warm as you possibly can do. Obviously, do as I've said before, always keep your compost, the compost that you're using, always try and have it, actually store it in the greenhouse. Now I'm probably about 2/3 the way through this bag of compost. So what I'll do, the last thing I'll do today is I'll get one. I've got a pile of these. What I'll do is I'll get another bag out and bring it into the greenhouse, so when I do any more seeds in a day or so's time, the compost will be already in here and obviously at the right temperature. Right, and then water with ideally as seeds, do it with tap water that's not freezing cold. Obviously, you know, get some warm water out of the tap and water them with warm tap water. Right, all I need to do now is just tamper them down like that. Now what I'll be doing is leaving these in the greenhouse. Ideally you'd have these in a heated environment ready to start them off, but I don't have that luxury. So what I'm going to do is the next best thing, leave them, I'll water them obviously, leave them in the greenhouse, and then what I'm going to do is put a piece of glass, and I'll just quickly show you now. Just get a piece of glass from over here. So put a piece of glass over the top of the tray. Obviously water them first, put a piece of glass over, but what you want to do is either put a pencil or something under one end so that it raises the one end up, so there's a little bit of ventilation. What that will do is it'll keep the compost warmer in the night, so when the the greenhouse cools down, it'll retain the heat a little bit better. Put something absorbent underneath so it holds the water in there as well, and hopefully they will germinate in the next week or two. Okay, so that's the tomatoes ready. So in there we've got the money maker, the Allotment, and then at the front here we've got the Gardener's Delight and the Golden Sunrise. So as I say, I've put a piece of glass over, just propped up the corner with some lollipop sticks, so there's a bit of ventilation in there. As I say, they've just had a bit of water, not too much, and hopefully now what I need is the weather to warm up a little bit in the greenhouse, then they'll start to germinate, and then we'll be away with the tomatoes. So that's the tomatoes for this year. Okay, so perpetual spinach is one crop that we can put in this time of year. Now, if you want to grow these straight into the ground, in other words, sow them straight into the ground, what you need to do is wait till sort of May time, middle of May really, to be so the ground's warm enough. But what you can do is get a head start by planting them in modules like I'm doing here. Now, if you do that, what you will get is a much earlier plant, so you can start to crop it earlier, and you'll get more for your money basically. So I would recommend, if you are going to grow this, then grow it in modules like this, and then plant it out, and then the plants will develop that much quicker. So therefore, you can harvest them. Now, this is the type of plant where you can keep pulling at the leaves. The more you pull at it, the more it'll grow. So it's one of those. It's one of them plants that just keeps on giving really. Now, I don't grow standard spinach. Standard spinach has got a real sort of habit of running to seed. In other words, basically the plant will grow so far and then it'll throw up a seed bud and then stop growing and basically die. Now, that's caused by a number of things. It's caused by either too much water or not enough water, or cold temperatures or hot temperatures. So lots of things can cause the plant to run to seed. But if you get perpetual spinach, which is this one here, most seed companies will actually supply this. You're much less likely for it to run to seed. Having said that, a lot of mine ran to seed last year, but that was because of the extreme weathers we were having last year. So all I'm going to do is basically fill these modules full of compost, which is easy enough really, like that. Now what I'm going to do is put 2 or 3 seeds in each one. So what I suggest you do is just press down the modules like that, so you can get a feel of how much is in there really. So what you want to do is make an indentation in the middle of each of the cells, and then basically what you want to do is sow 3 or 4 seeds into the centre of each of the modules. So I'll just quickly get the seed. Now the seed looks like kind of like cork, little pieces of cork. So I'll just show you the seed. There you go. So the seed looks like little pieces of cork. So it's quite easy to handle. So what you want to do is put 2 or 3 of these in the centre. Try and separate them if you can by a few millimetres. You haven't got to be too fussy if there's 3 or 4 that go in. It doesn't really matter, but I would put at least 3 in each one. And by making a little indentation in the middle, it'll make the seed go into the middle. Now what you want to do is get the seeds in the middle so that it's got all of the compost for the roots to grow properly. If you put it down the side, what can happen is the plant doesn't have quite as much opportunity to get its roots in. But what you want to do is put them into the middle as best you can, either 3 or 4 seeds, like that. Let's get some more seed. And you can probably see these against the compost because they're quite light. Like that. Just push them in. Finish these last few off. You want at least 3 or 4 in each one. So if you do have a few more, it doesn't really matter too much. There you go. Now, as soon as you've done that, what you want to do is push them into the compost like that, so that they're definitely in contact with the compost, and then just put a sprinkle of compost over the top of those like that. So they end up being probably about ½ an inch or so down. That's kind of ideal. Now all I need to do now, obviously stick a label in there and then put these in the greenhouse. They'll start to grow, and when the plants get to kind of 5-6 inches high, or even before, you can then plant them outside in a row. You need to plant them probably about 6 inches apart, because the plants get kind of sort of a foot across really, so you at least 6 inches apart, and then obviously you need to give each row at least a foot of room, if you like, so 6 inches either side of the row, so that the plants can grow properly. And then I can show you these in a few weeks time when they first come up, and I'll show you planting them in the ground. But what you can do, as I say, what you can do is wait. If you haven't got the room in the greenhouse, you can wait until kind of May time and plant these directly into the ground, and they'll grow quite nice in the ground. But if you do this, it gives the plant that extra good start, and it's much less likely to run to seed and stuff like that, and you can crop that much earlier. But the other thing I will quickly say is you do get 2 croppings off spinach. As soon as the plants get to kind of this big, you can start to pull the leaves, obviously pull the outer leaves off, And then what will happen is over the winter, towards the end of the year, the plant will die down almost to the ground. And then at this time of the year, what it'll do is it'll start to grow again. It's basically a biennial plant. So which means it grows one year, then the following year it springs back into life and then runs to seed. So you do get, in the spring, you do get a second opportunity to crop leaves off it. And then obviously come sort of May time, it'll then run to seed and basically you have to take it out, so that's the end of it. So you will have spinach in the ground. If you grow this every year, you'll have it in the ground 12 months of the year basically, because I'm now cropping off the plants that I grew last year, and I'll be cropping off these plants this time next year as well. So you know it's a sort of full 12-month cycle if you like. But anyway, that's spinach for you. If you are going to grow it, I'd recommend you grow perpetual spinach, or spinach beet is another name for it, as it says there, because it's in my opinion it's as good as spinach, and you don't have all of the problems of it running to seed, or as bad as normal spinach would. Okay, so I've put the spinach. I've put basically 5 trays of spinach in, so obviously that gives me 15, 30, 60, 75 modules in there, which will be more than enough. What I will do is plant exactly the same again in about 3 or 4 weeks time, then that will edge my bet. So if this lot does run to seed, I've got some backups going in anyway. So that's what I typically do. I typically do them in sort of 2 or 3 lots, about 3 or 4 weeks apart, and then that just edges your bet, just in case these do run to seed because of the weather changing. You know, you've always got that backup plan if you like. But if you're just growing it for yourself, obviously this is a reasonable number of plants, so that will most certainly supply, you know, a family of 5 quite well. But I always do a second lot just to make sure that I've got you know, like a backup plan. Now all I'll need to do with these now is water these with tap water, keep them reasonably warm in the greenhouse here, and then they'll sprout in the next few weeks. As I say, in about 4 weeks time they'll be ready to go outside. Okay, so one of the plants we can put in now is Don Pedro Planta. Now this is the plant I showed you last year, and this is the one that sort of it's Spanish. It grows to about 60 or 70 centimetres high, or sort of 3 or 4 foot high, and it has them nice purple flowers on. There are lots of different variations of it. You can get pinks, whites, really dark purples, almost black as well. But this is the plant that I inherited last year, so I managed to save some seeds from there. So all I'm going to do is put some in these little seed trays. Now these seed trays are most certainly seen the best, but they'll be okay to put these in. So these are like little sort of 1.5 inch modular type seed boxes. And all I'm going to do is, the seeds are reasonably big, and these will get transplanted reasonably quickly, but what I don't want to do is take up too much room in the greenhouse with them. So I'm going to put in, as you can see in each of these, there's 12, so there's 24 modules here, which will be more than enough room to put them in. This compost is a little bit dry, but it'll be okay. Right, so all I'm going to do is put 1 seed in each of these modules, and then give that a bit of water, and then these will grow on. They are reasonably robust. They're not very good with as a plant. They're not very good with frost, so you need to treat them pretty much like dahlias. So obviously in the winter what you need to do is bring them in. But if you save yourself some seeds like I've got here, you know, you can always grow them on. Now apparently they're the seeds, so they look like little oh, that one there's not any good. So that's what the seeds look like. And what I'm going to do is put one of these in, probably about half an inch or so down. I've got no seed packet with these, obviously I've saved these from a different plant. So I'm going to put them in about half an inch down in each one, making sure that the ground is reasonably firm as I put it in, like that. And as soon as these start to grow, I'll transplant them reasonably quickly. I realise these modules are quite small. Right. As I say, I'm putting these about ½ an inch down, and then all I'll do is I'll just sprinkle a little teeny bit of compost over the top. It's quite dry, this compost is, but it'll be okay. Right, like that. As I said, so they're about 2 inches down. I'll give these a bit of water, and then as soon as these come up, when they get to about sort of 2 or 3 inches high, I'll transplant them into some larger pots to grow them on. But I've got some more seeds there just in case. But I'll start them growing now, and I'll show you these in a couple of weeks' time as soon as they've started to grow. So, I hope this episode was of some use to you. Please don't hesitate to put any comments or questions you got below, and I'll always get back to you. And I'll see you on the next episode of Jim's Allotment Garden.